Hi guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. Hi everybody, welcome back to another video on my channel. For today's video, we are going to be talking about university in Korea. I just finished my first semester of university in South Korea as a full-time student, but it was kind of crazy to be honest, and like a crazy experience. But I'm so happy to be done for this semester because gosh darn was that semester like putting me through the ringer. But I thought today I would just kind of talk about university in Korea and talk about language school, and I asked you guys to ask me questions on Instagram and on my community tab here on YouTube. So I'm going to be answering all of the questions that you guys have. But first I figured it would just be good to like kind of talk about my story for any of you guys who don't know me or don't know kind of like my story with school in Korea. So I guess I should just talk about my school history in general. So I am a 2000s baby. I graduated high school in 2018, and when I graduated I decided to go to school in California. I'm originally from the east coast of America and so I decided to switch it up, go to the west coast, and I got into a school in California in Los Angeles, and I went there for my first year, my freshman year, and I really enjoyed it, but I always knew that I wanted to study abroad. So during that first year I kind of brought that discussion up with my advisors. I also went to the study abroad office and I was like looking at all the programs, looking at all the deadlines, and then I decided that I was going to be doing a year abroad in Korea. So I applied during my second semester of my freshman year and I obviously got in, and then the fall of 2019 I got accepted and I went to South Korea to Sogang University as an exchange student. So originally, like I said, I had planned to go for the entire year, but I did end up doing one semester at Sogang. So I was an exchange student in South Korea. Just like, it's like a normal uni student, but also you're an exchange student, so you kind of, it's a lot different than being a normal student to be honest. But I took all my classes in English. Everything was taught in English. The entire program was in English. I didn't have to know any Korean to do the program at all. I did know obviously some Korean, but I didn't know like a lot back then. And I went from obviously the fall semester, so September to December I was in Korea, and then obviously as y'all know 2020 hit and I went home for Christmas for my winter break, and I was not allowed to return to Korea. So I actually unfortunately had to take the semester off for the 2020 semester because school in America starts back in January from winter break, but school in Korea starts back in March. So by the time that they had canceled my program, because they actually did end up canceling it, it wasn't just like my decision, they literally told me don't come to Korea basically. School had already been going on for 2 months in America, so I wasn't allowed to just kind of like hop into the semester. They were like, nope, you have to take the semester off. So I couldn't do anything, so I took the semester off. And then obviously as we went through the pandemic and through 2020, I ultimately decided that for me, I just really could not justify spending California tuition to go to online school, because obviously all of 2020 I think for everyone was online. I think for most people it was online. So I decided to transfer to a state school. So I went to a school, I transferred to a school in Massachusetts, and I did online for the fall of 2020. So I went to another university, but in America again. And then while I was at home, all I wanted to do was come back to Korea, to be honest. I really loved it in Seoul. I had loved my experience that I had when I was a study abroad student, and I was looking up different ways to go to Korea because I don't really think back then I was ready to jump straight into going to university here. But I really wanted to learn the Korean language. Like that was like my biggest goal and dream, was to become somewhat acceptable in speaking Korean. So I decided to take another semester off of university and go to language school. So I applied in December, and my language school semester started in March. Yeah, in March. And it went March to June. So originally I had signed up to do 1 semester of language school. For you guys who don't know, language school runs 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and it is a very intensive program. You basically start to finish only speaking Korean the entire time. None of the instructors use English. I mean, I guess like, okay, maybe like 2% of the time they use English, but they're not required to know English and or speak English. Basically from day one, from the moment you walk in, they only teach you in Korean. So it's a very immersive, intensive program. But yeah, so I decided to do that. And if you guys don't know how language school works, there are 6 levels of language school, and I originally got into level 1. I was placed into it after taking a placement test because my Korean was shit again. I did not study Korean very well even when I lived in Korea. And then during my language school time, I decided I wanted to stay in Korea, so I ended up applying for a visa. I extended my stay for 6 more months, so I did levels 2 and 3, and then I extended my stay again and I took level 4, and then I extended my stay again and I took level 5, and then I extended my stay again and I did level 6. And during level 6 I decided to apply to university in Korea. So for any of you guys who don't know, I did go to Dongguk University for language school, and when I was applying to universities, I actually only ended up applying to 1, to be honest, because it was the easiest application. I am very lazy, and also I kind of really really like where I live and I don't mind my university. So I ended up applying to Dongguk as a transfer student. So I was going to be transferring in as a junior and I got accepted. So now I finished my first semester of junior year of college. Woo! So I have only 3 semesters left, or a year and a half. If you guys don't know Korean school systems, they're a little bit backwards. So their first semester is the spring semester, their second semester is the fall semester. So I'm technically gonna graduate. Am I gonna graduate 1, 2, 3? Yeah, I'm gonna graduate incorrectly, but that's okay. It's gonna be a mess anyways. But yeah, I have 3 more semesters here in Korea to graduate. I have 49 credits left I need to do, I think. I don't know. Me and one of the homies at the office were chatting about this the other day. And for those of you guys who don't know, I am a business student. My major is business administration. To be honest, when I first started school, I was an education major. I really wanted to become a teacher. Then that changed when I went to Korea and I kind of went to, I can't remember the name of my major that I was in Korea. It wasn't education. I was a sociology. Okay. I was a sociology major when I was a study abroad student because they didn't have an education course at my specific school. But I kind of knew at that point that I wanted to change my major anyway, so I didn't really care, to be honest. So I was a sociology major in Sogang. When I went to the Boston school, I was a business major, and now I'm a business major again in Korea. I decided to get my business degree because obviously doing YouTube, I figured it was just like the best to do along with social media, I guess. So yeah, my teacher careers were dead. But yeah, that's kind of my journey as a student here in Korea. Again, I know that probably doesn't make sense to a lot of you, but basically I took language school for a year and a half. Again, I took 6 semesters of language school and each semester is 3 months long. You have to pass them to go up to each level. I think you have to get over a 70% on the exam and over 50% in each category. So in language schools, there's 4 categories, obviously listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And you have to get over a 50% in each of the different categories. The exam is like literally split into 4 parts. And so I passed every single level and I obviously passed level 6 as well and I graduated. Here is my certificate. Wow. Isn't that pretty? So yeah, I graduated level 6 in the summer and then I started school in the fall. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. Again, it probably doesn't, but yeah, each experience was different from the other. Being a study abroad student versus being a full-time student in Korea is insanely different. And obviously being in language school is way different than actual university because obviously language school, you're only learning the Korean language for 4 hours a day. Whereas obviously in university, you're taking kind of like various classes and you have like different locations. You go to different, well, I don't go to different buildings, but I go to different classrooms. Whereas language school is literally 1 classroom for an entire semester. And then the entirety of my language school experience was in 1 building. Yeah, like I said, I do go to Dongguk University here in Seoul and I take language school at Dongguk as well. So I hope again that makes sense. Again, if you have any specific questions about how that all happened, please let me know. But let's get into the questions because a lot of you guys ask like specifics and I think it'd be easier for me to answer the questions than to like explain things because again, a lot of you guys ask me like specific things. Let's get it. Somebody said, did you have to completely restart uni or did you get some subjects revalidated? So yes, I applied to school in Korea as a transfer student. I did thankfully get to transfer all of the credits I had taken at my California University, my Boston University, and my Korean University. So I think I ended up with like 80 something credits or something, and then I think, like I said, I only have like 40-ish credits left to do to graduate, which would be like the next 3 remaining semesters. So thankfully, yes, everything transferred over pretty simply. Obviously, because I wasn't a business major in the beginning, I do have to kind of make up a lot of those like mandatory business classes. And I will just say each school obviously has required classes. For you guys who don't know, Dongguk University is a Buddhist school, so we do have to take 2 meditation classes and 1 like on Buddhist studies. And also, oh my god, I should probably just talk about this now. In study abroad, like I said, all my classes were in English. Obviously, in language school, everything was in Korean. And now, in my first semester of university, I took 4 classes in English and 2 classes in Korean. To be honest, it just kind of worked out that way. I would have taken more in Korean had there been more that I needed to take. But all of the subjects I needed to take were just offered in English at the times I needed them. So I just opted to take 4 in English and 2 in Korean. When I did apply to the school, they told me I could really take whatever I wanted in terms of like English and or Korean like classes. They were never like, oh, you need this amount of Korean credits or this amount of English credits. So I'm really thankful that my school was like pretty accommodating in that sense. But I know that for a lot of students who are not native English speakers, obviously I'm American, I have obviously American citizenship, I am a native English speaker as my mother tongue. It's a little bit different, but for me and for my experience, I was allowed to kind of just do whatever the hell I wanted. And because I obviously had the certificate from level 6 of language school, I could just really easily get the Korean proficiency as well. To be honest, to apply to school, you do need some Korean proficiency. I'm not trying to tell y'all that you can do all your classes in English because you do need Korean proficiency. For me personally, I just didn't need TOPIK, which is the Korean language test, because I took language school at Dongguk. So honestly, if I had applied to other universities, if I had tried to go to a different university, I probably would have needed TOPIK as well. But because I went to Dongguk and I had gone to their language program, they just took the fact that I graduated level 6 and were like, okay, that's equivalent to TOPIK, and like gave me the Korean proficiency. And again, I didn't have to take any English proficiency tests because I'm American. Everybody else has to take English proficiency tests. So if you're from a country that is not a native English speaking country, you do have to take not only Korean proficiency but English proficiency to go to school as an international student. I just want you guys to know that. Am I an international? I'm technically not an international student though, because I'm considered a Korean student. Like I'm considered in the same pot as the Korean students. So I'm not really interested. But anyways, that was a lot of words. Is language school really worth it? Do you think it's really useful if you want to attend a university in Korea? I'm thinking of just getting a tutor and taking the TOPIK test. I think it's gonna be different for everyone, but I honestly am so grateful and lucky that I did language school. I think it really helped me, not only with just like the language and obviously like the grammatical structures and obviously just like, again, good learning, but I think it helped a lot in my confidence. Like I think really truthfully I had a good experience at language school. Obviously it wasn't perfect all the time, and I can go into the bad stuff later if somebody asks me about it. I really enjoyed language school. I thought it was really fun, and I think it's really cool because you get to meet people from all around the world, and again, I met really good friends and I really had a good experience. So in my opinion, language school is worth it because it's fun. Is going to a Korean university really helpful if you want to get a job in Korea? Are there a lot of networks? I am actually not too sure about this because obviously I'm only in my first semester of university. Personally, for me, again, I'm not sure. Also, I'm a little bit like of a wild card because obviously my job is YouTube and I have like other jobs that I do as like a social media influencer. So I've gotten experiences and like job offers already because of my platform, if that makes sense. So I think that this one is a little bit harder for me to say, but I definitely do say that it'll be helpful. I think personally it'll be helpful. But how much money do you recommend saving of doing a graduate program 2 to 3 years in Korea? I can't answer that because again, cost of living is gonna be obviously person to person, but I will just say, somebody asked about like, again, cost of living. Again, it depends on where you live. It depends on like your lifestyle. I really can't answer that. I'm so sorry. Somebody says, how hard is it to find a part-time job in Korea? Where can you find jobs? How do you get a work permit? So as a student, after 6 months of living here, you are allowed to work a certain amount of hours as a part-time job. Again, I'm not too familiar with it because I've never had to have a part-time job. Thankfully, y'all are my job. Thank y'all, besties. So personally, again, I've never had to deal with that, but I think it's like 10 to 12 hours a week or something. I don't know. There's like little rules and stuff. You can look them up, but it's after 6 months of living in Korea as a student that you can get a part-time job. I had a lot of friends who did part-time jobs, but again, I just don't know much about them because YouTube is my job. Somebody asked, what are the negative sides about studying in a different country / language? And what kind of person would you advise to not go down that path? For example, I'm really introverted and might think that I cannot care for myself when I study abroad, so I would say I should either grow up a little or not study in another language / country. I think that you don't have to be a certain type of person to study abroad. I just think you need to be aware that it's gonna be freaking hard. It's gonna be difficult. It's gonna suck a lot of the time. I think that there's this really big like idea that like going abroad and like studying abroad is gonna be like the best time of your life or like the best adventure of your life, or like living in Korea obviously has a lot of fantasization about romanticization, fantasy, you know what I mean? A lot of people romanticize Korea. It's not like that, to be honest. Definitely say there's been a lot of things, somebody said negative sides. Again, there's a lot of things that are really hard about going somewhere, especially for me, like as a Latina American, I've never really learned about Korean culture and I never really experienced just like kind of like Asian culture in general, I would say. So obviously coming to an Asian country was just, you have to learn like and kind of like adapt to their routine and their lifestyle. I don't think it's a bad thing to study abroad. Personally, I really suggest to anybody watching this to study abroad. I think studying abroad was the best decision for me, but I will just say like it's gonna be freaking hard. You're gonna be far away from home and there's gonna be times where you want to contact somebody that you know, somebody that you like love, and you can't. And there's a lot of things you have to do by yourself and you have to kind of learn through the progress. I think for me, I am personally a very independent person. As I told you guys earlier, I left home at 18 to go to California, which obviously has like a 6-hour flight from where I live. So again, I am a very independent person, but I will just say like I've had so many hard times, like so many struggles of living here, but I do think for me, the good ways outweighs the bad, if that makes sense. Like, I really just do love living here, and I love being independent, and I love getting to spend my time here. So again, I don't think it's like I could like say like to a certain type of person like, oh, you shouldn't go because you're introverted. Like, no, I have a lot of introverted friends, and like, to be honest, I'm an introvert as well. I'm just an independent introvert who can fake being an extrovert. So yeah, I wouldn't like necessarily say like, oh, don't go, but I would just keep in mind that it's not always gonna be pretty. It's not always gonna be easy, and there's gonna be times when you cry. There's gonna be times when you question your life choices and you want to go home. But again, I think personally for me, the good ways out the bad. So that is my answer. I don't know if that was the answer you wanted, but that is my answer. Somebody says, what are the pros and cons of going to the uni there versus the US? Oh, a lot of people have asked me like, what's the difference between university here in the US? For me personally, education-wise, it's very similar. A lot of people think that like it's a lot harder here, and in my personal opinion, university has not been harder here. Language school is freaking hard. You have so much homework, so many things to do. You're literally learning another language, and your brain is like, no, stop this. So language school is a really a lot of work. Literally in level 1, 2, 3, 4, you learn like 50 words a day, 2 grammar points a day. So it's very intensive. But I think university, to be honest, is very similar to the States, whereas like, I mean, it's depending on the subject. Like for me personally, like my business courses are difficult. Like some of the material is really hard to understand. Like gosh darn, I don't understand finances. I also failed accounting though in America. So but I mean, like my other courses like leadership or marketing weren't as hard. So pros and cons. Pro of the States. Ooh, there's not many pros of the States. The States is freaking expensive. It's so expensive. I would say maybe for like some of y'all, like scholarships are more of an option in the States. I don't really know of scholarships in Korea personally, but I've also never received scholarships in the States, so I have no idea. But I think from my understanding, scholarships are more like more of like a States thing, I guess. But in general, college in Korea is way cheaper than at least the universities I went to in the States. Even like my state school, ooh, this is way cheaper. So yeah, pros and cons, I have no idea. I literally have no idea. How high is the tuition you pay for uni, and was it hard to get in? Limitations of GPA. So it is 6 million something a 6 million, like around 6 million won a year. So I think I paid like 3 million for my first semester. Again, I get no like financial help from anybody, no scholarships. So that's like what, like a little over 2 grand. So it's very inexpensive in my opinion as an American who went to a private university in Los Angeles. Very inexpensive. And is it hard to get in? To be honest, I got in pretty damn easily, but I also applied to a really non-competitive major. Like there's a lot of majors in Korea, like especially at my school. We're known for the movie and film major. I don't know what it's called in English, but we're really known for that specific major. So like I've had friends who have been rejected from that major because it's definitely more competitive. I think they only take like 20 people a year, or so. I don't even, I actually don't quote me on this, I don't know. But from my understanding, the business school was like a lot less competitive, so it obviously made it a lot easier to get into. GPA, I don't know. I had a really good GPA in college. I'll be honest, my GPA was a 4.0 in both the universities I attended and study abroad. So again, I don't know if there's a GPA limitation. I know that you don't need like SAT, what is it, ACT, you don't need any of that. I mean actually, ooh, do you need it for, again, I'm a transfer, so I don't really understand all of these things. All I had to do was give my transcripts from the universities that I had previously attended. So I gave all 3 transcripts, the one from LA, the one from Korea, and then the one from Massachusetts, and I gave them to that. And I got in like a week later, so I don't actually know. To be honest, I don't know. I also think I got in pretty easily because, again, I did attend language school at that specific school, but limitations, I don't know. Is there something that you would do differently? No, knowing what you know now. Oh, what would I do differently? I think, honestly, I don't regret how I did everything. I think it was very smart for me to do it. I mean, I guess financially, okay, first of all, financially, I made a lot of dumb decisions, but I think that in general, I wouldn't have changed it. I'm really glad I went to Korea for a short amount of time at first. I think if I had just like sprung into language school or sprung into university like forever, it might have kind of shook me, I guess. I don't know. Because I only was in Korea for 4 months, it kind of made me really want to go back. Like the slow burn AU of Ariel Missing Soul, like in 2020 was written by Ariel, but like it just really made me want to go back more, if that made sense. So I don't know. To be honest, I will be completely honest with y'all. When I was a study abroad student, I was looking into fully transferring to Korea. Back when I was a sophomore in college, I kind of had started like the application process, and I had kind of started looking into the different programs, and I was like, I mean, like 99% going to change to go to Korea like full-time back then, but obviously because of COVID I couldn't. I was gonna start after my second semester of study abroad, but again, everything kind of went through because of COVID. So would I change anything? No, I don't think I would. How many semesters are you taking there, and how is it adjusting to living in Korea as a student? So like I said, I'm taking 4 semesters, but I finished 1, so I have 3 left. And to be honest, when I first moved to Korea in 2019, it was really easy because for me, studying abroad was like a very easy process. All of it is in English, and for me personally, I made friends really fast. Unfortunately, I love all my friends from study abroad, but I made friends with obviously only English speaking people, so it kind of hindered my language abilities, and I kind of wish I had made more Korean friends back then. It's like something I do regret a little bit, but I made friends really easily. We became a really good like group of people, and again, school wasn't that bad, and adjusting to life in Korea wasn't that hard because again, the school made it really easy to adjust. Again, I went to Sogang as a study abroad student, and I really love that school so much. To be honest, I really wanted to go to there for undergrad as well, but again, the application seemed like too much work. Guys, I'm very lazy, so the Dongguk University application was way easier because again, I was already a student, so I just decided to stay at Dongguk. Also, I'd have to move, and I don't want to move, so what was the question? How was adjusting to life as a student? Again, it wasn't that hard, but also I think because I'm a K-pop fan, I know so much Korean. Like, I know way more than my brain allows me to, so I could understand a good amount, and I would say that I kind of had a set of expectations of like how it was gonna be, and it kind of met my expectations. So yeah, it wasn't that bad. What was the application process like? So for study abroad, all you have to do, at least for me, all I had to do was go to my study abroad office, and then like I had to fill out an online application, and then I had to write an essay of like why I wanted to go to whatever, like where I wanted to go, so why I wanted to go to Korea basically. And they just kind of looked at your grades, and they like, you had to meet a certain grade requirement to go to study abroad. So obviously I met the requirement, and then I was accepted. It was very simple. Honestly, it was very simple. And then a lot of people don't know this, but for study abroad, you do need to buy your own plane ticket, and you also pay tuition to your home university. So I was paying stupid amount of money to go abroad, but I mean, YOLO. For language school, I applied through a website called Gogo Hanguk. I talk about this in my applying to language school video, but because I went through like a helper website, the application was super simple, super dulled down and easy. Basically, all I had to do was send all my application materials to them, and then they sent them to Korea, and then like sending the money of like the tuition, like we could just like wire transfer it to Korea. So again, they made it super easy, super helpful, and I basically did no work. You do, when you apply for language school, have to again write an essay on why do you want to come to Korea, why did you choose Korea, but like those like little things are really simple and easy, so it was very simple. And then applying to university in Korea was a little bit harder because obviously I did it all on my own, but again, they have step-by-step like processes on all of the websites. The only thing that was hard for me, to be honest, is that everything in Korea is Windows. Korea, obviously Korea is Samsung, so like Korea is very anti-Apple, so I basically had to go to a PC bang to fill out my application for school because it wouldn't even open on my Mac. And honestly, that's the one thing I really hate about school here, is that like a lot of this stuff like that you need to do does not open on your Mac, so you have to go to the PC bang to open it. I don't have a Windows computer, I'm sorry, I use Mac. But yeah, so the application was again very simple, like name, birthday, passport information, where are your parents from. To be qualified as a native speaker, not only you have to be born in the States, but so do your parents, or your parents need to have obviously citizenship of a native English speaking country. So I did all of that. And then again, I had to fill out, I think 6 or 7 essays, but all of them could be filled out in English, so it's quite simple, I think. Honestly, I think it was Korean or English, but I filled it all out in English because I am lazy. Even though I could do it in Korean, I didn't want to. I didn't want to think. Again, it's just applications for like school in general. I think if you guys have applied to any kind of school, they're just tedious and there's a lot of forms. I will say the one thing about Korea that's very frustrating is you need to get everything apostilled and notarized, which is like you need to go to like your government official building in your state or town, or I don't know how you do it abroad, but at least for me, we had to go to the office in Boston and get everything like notarized. So like not even my birth certificate, but like my parents' birth certificates, my parents' passports, my passport, all of my transfers needed to be like notarized. That's just like a requirement of Korea. And I guess the only other harder part was that like you need to have all the physical documents, so you can't have like scans of documents, at least for the university application. For the language school application, you could have scans, but for university, everything needed to be like in person. But obviously I was in Korea at the time. So my mom went to the office and like got all my documents notarized, and then she just like shipped them to me. But holy crap, is that expensive. Nobody talks about the fees. Everything is freaking expensive. I think it was like the notarization of all the papers was expensive, and then to expedite all my papers to Korea was like, oh, giving me chest pain. And then I had, guys, then the worst part happened. You wanna know the worst part? I got custom fees. No, I had to pay like $100 in customs, but yeah, that's the application process. I guess it's just a lot of tedious paperwork, but it's not that bad once you get into it. I'd say the application process to school here was similar to the application process of like colleges in America when I first applied. Applications are pretty similar. Again, you just need a lot of stuff apostilled, and in Korea, you need a lot of it in person. If you are applying from abroad, you can just ship them to the school directly. But again, look it up. I'll say do the research, because again, it's gonna be, my experience might be a lot different from somebody who's applying from their home country, because I was in Korea the entire time I was applying, so I literally just went in person and handed them the documents, and I was like, I'm applying for school. So yeah, it's very simple actually. What were the struggles while learning Korean? Would you mix English and Korean while talking? I guess the struggles for me while learning Korean is that, again, I've never learned an Asian language, so I guess the struggles were that like a lot of the kids in my class were doing really freaking good, because the Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese students kind of knew the structure of how Asian languages work, and I didn't. And to be honest, they have a lot of grammatical things that just like don't make sense in my brain. Like now I can understand them, but if you need me to explain it, I can't explain it. I just know how it works. And then also, like, I would say language school was just very fast paced and very intense. I guess the struggles of learning Korean again were just the fact that there's just so much grammar, and also a lot of the time a lot of words mean the same thing, so you have to just think about like the context of everything. But I think obviously, as you guys know, I am a K-pop fan, so all I do in my free time is listen to people speak Korean. So I think I do have that kind of going for me, where like I kind of listen to Korean every single day of my life. Literally before filming this, I was watching NCT videos, so haha. Would you mix English and Korean while talking? I mix English and Korean while talking now. Actually, a lot of my friends from language school are English speakers as well. I made some friends who do not speak any English, which was honestly one of the best things I could have ever done for myself, because making friends who don't speak English forces you to speak Korean, and it's just like so good, because my speaking skills got so much better because of them. To be honest, I don't really have a lot of Korean friends. It's very embarrassing. But a lot of my friends who do speak English and Korean, who were like in the language school with me, we speak in Konglish all the time. Honestly, now there's words that sometimes I can't think of the English word, but I think of the Korean word first. So like convenience store. It's just 편의점 in my brain. Is it harder to do uni in Korea even after going to the language school, or the same as the US? Again, I do not think it was harder. I obviously did take 2 classes in Korean this semester, and the classes in Korean and the classes in English had the like similar workload, and it wasn't like either of them was harder. It was just a different language. So I guess the only added hardness was the fact that I had to pay attention more, whereas in my English classes I could kind of zone out and still understand what they're saying. But in the Korean classes, I really had to focus on what the professor was saying, because if I stopped focusing for 1 second, we could be at a totally different conversation and I could have missed half of it. So I would say no. In my personal experience, no, it wasn't harder. But again, this could be different for different majors and for different people, just in general of like how you learn. But for me personally, it wasn't harder. How prepared did you feel language school made you for studying at uni in Korea with classes in Korean? I think language school completely prepared me really well. But I will say I did have so like my big Korean class, one of my Korean classes was just meditation, so I didn't really talk to anyone. But one of my Korean classes had, I think it was like 10 foreigners in it. I was the only like Western foreigner. The rest of them were obviously from other Asian countries, but a lot of the kids there only had up to level 3 of Korean, whereas obviously I had up to level 6. And I will just say, going through all of the levels and staying until level 6 really prepared me. Obviously, if you guys didn't know, you only really need level 3 of and level 3 of language school to go to university. But I cannot, like, if you guys are not gonna study on your own, I cannot, like, I have to highly recommend staying to level 6 is a pain in the ass. I hated level 6. It was literally the bane of my existence, but I'm so happy I did level 6, because if I hadn't done it, I don't think I would have been at a better position to do the work for class, if that makes sense. And honestly, like, in class, like, answering questions and like actively participating, like, I don't think I would have been as confident had I done it after level 3. Also, level 3, I couldn't speak at all. Like, I was so like shy and like embarrassed to speak because I thought I would fuck up everything that I said. Whereas like level 6, I had way more confidence. So for me personally, I'm so glad I took all of the levels, and I think it really prepared me well for obviously university. Not to say that I don't get confused, because holy crap, there are times when I'm in university and I'm listening to people talking Korean and I have no idea what they're saying, okay? I don't want you guys to think that I'm absolutely like 100% fluent in Korean. I would definitely say we're at a steady uphill of maybe a 55% fluent. I can obviously hold a really good conversation and I can obviously actually participate in class, but there are things I don't understand. Still learning every single day, so yeah. What tips do you have on choosing a language school? Again, when I applied to language school, I really did no research whatsoever. All I knew is that I wanted to go through Dongguk Hanguk, and they only offered 2 universities, so I just picked one. I picked the one that had the application open, to be honest. The other one had the application closed. The other one's Hanyang University. I'd say do your research. If you really want to go for a specific focus, I honestly, if I'm gonna be honest, I think most language schools are very similar in the structure. Obviously, like the way of teaching might be different, but structurally, they're gonna be all the same, basically. Have I joined any clubs in school? No, I don't want to join any clubs. I don't have time for clubs. I don't know. No. I don't like talking with people my age. What was the hardest thing in school / what was your favorite thing to learn about school? I think the hardest thing in school for me, this is a really hard thing for me to talk about because I never want to not accept the privilege that I have to be here and how grateful I am to be here, and obviously how much support I have around me and how much of like lovely people I've met in Korea and like how much I enjoy living here. But I will say there was a lot at the beginning and just throughout the whole semester, a lot of just people, how do I put this? Like when I went to language school, obviously we were all foreigners, so it was pretty easy to kind of fit in, and it was really easy to like just like learn Korean, I guess. And obviously as language school got harder and harder, like again, they knew we were foreigners and they knew kind of like our capabilities. But going to my first Korean classes, actually I was supposed to take 3 Korean classes. I'm gonna be 100% real with you guys right now. I was supposed to take 3 Korean classes at the start of the semester, and I had to drop one because I walked into the classroom and it was all Korean students around me. And of course I am Latina American, but damn, I look white. So the professor actually approached me that day and asked me in English if I was in the correct classroom, and I respectfully answered back in Korean, like yes, like I understand this is a Korean class, obviously I can speak Korean. And he kind of just like looked at me very just like and then he was going over the process of the class, and he very not politely at the end of the class said, all of the foreigners should drop this class. It will be too hard for you and I don't think you should take this class. And he said it very bluntly and just very rudely, to be honest. And I think that kind of ruined, I guess, like, I don't know, it kind of started the downfall for me in Korean university, because the thing is, I'm always gonna be foreign. Like I'm always gonna be me, I'm always gonna be foreign. And that's one of the things that like living in Korea is really hard, is that you're always gonna be a foreigner. You're always gonna be foreign. They're never really gonna expect you to speak Korean. They're always kind of gonna expect that you don't know what you're doing, which is okay and it's fine. And I've heard like so many other foreigners like who have obviously lived here for like years and years and years say this, is that you're never gonna fit in. And it's a very, very true thing, to be honest. But after that class, I'm not gonna be honest, like I was really, really discouraged. And then I went to my next Korean class, and again, the professor came up to me and asked me in English, are you in the correct classroom? And I said, yes, I'm in the correct classroom. Like I'm prepared to take this class in Korean. And he kind of like quizzed me on my Korean at that moment. He was like asking me different questions, like where are you from? Not like very difficult questions, but he was kind of like quizzing me. And then he was just like, okay, I understand. But from that day forward, this specific professor like picked on me every single class. Like he also went to school in Massachusetts for his his PhD, so he kind of knew a lot about Boston. For you guys who don't know, I'm not from Boston. I just say I'm from Boston, but I don't know anything about Boston. I'm from a very small town in Massachusetts, so I don't really know much about Massachusetts in general. I also just don't care. So he would quiz me every single class about America, about something about America. He would always call on me, whereas like he wouldn't pick on the other foreigners in this way, which was kind of like it's a very hard thing to talk about again, because I want you guys to understand how difficult this was for me, because again, all I wanted was to be treated fairly. All I wanted to be treated all I wanted was to be treated with respect, and I feel like I didn't get that from these professors. And anytime I obviously walked into an English classroom, nobody blinked an eye. I will say though, in my meditation class, I was treated so well. The professor was actually a monk, a Buddhist monk, and she was honestly like the most lovely person in the entire world. She didn't even care about like who I was. She didn't care who I was. I always obviously was like actively trying to participate, and even when we were doing like discussions in class, she would like come over to me and like ask me if I like, first of all, if I understood, which I think was just, it's the way that she approached like asking about my like skill level, I guess, was just very, very, very nice. But again, my other professors that I had were not nice and very, very discouraging. And I'm kind of dulling it down for y'all, but I want you guys to understand that, like, especially because I did end up dropping the class that the guy was like, please drop it, because I just didn't want to deal with it. But I stayed in the class where the professor, like, again, immediately assumed I was not supposed to be there. I stayed in that class, and it was twice a week, and I would come home from class and like cry, like, majority of the time. It was just so stressful to be in that environment because I feel like I was honestly constantly getting grilled on, am I worthy of being there, if that makes sense? Like, why am I there? But it was always like backhand stuff too, and he complimented me sometimes too, because I actually was, again, the foreigner with the highest level of Korean, so he was always just looking at me weird because, like, obviously there was other foreign students, but they were all Asian students, and I knew the most Korean, so he was always just very confused at, like, me. And we had to do like group presentations, and we had to do like, obviously, like what is that called? Speaking presentation? We had to do presentations, yeah, and like I would have to speak in Korean, and he would always just like look surprised whenever I spoke because I think I can speak okay, but yeah, there was a lot of times where I couldn't answer his questions, or I had no idea what he wanted from me. And there was a lot of times where he would just ask me like really just like rude things, just like, are you even American? Like, why don't you know this about America? Are you even American? And again, it really made my experience really shitty. And the sad part is that's going to happen at every single class I go to, and honestly every single foreigner that I have met who's obviously like a Western foreigner has experienced that. So every one of my friends who are like from Western countries who have gone to a class in Korean have been approached and asked in English, are you in the right classroom? Which I kind of wish like wasn't a thing, because like, again, why does my looks mean like I can't speak? But again, I kind of understand, but I don't really understand. So I just say that was like the hardest part, is that I'm never really gonna be accepted as like a normal student because I'm not a study abroad student. And I think that was also another thing in my English classes. All of my professors thought I was a study abroad student, so would always consider me as a study abroad student, and I would be like, no, I'm like a normal student. Like I take class, I can speak Korean, like I go to classes in Korean as well. It's just that some of my subjects I can take in English as well. I'm a native English speaker, of course I can take them in English. Some of my professors thought it was really cool, and like were really like, they were so like intrigued to meet me. And honestly, I had really good experiences with some of my professors. I don't want to say all my professors were bad, but there were just some professors that would be like, oh, like you're a real student. Yeah. So I guess that's probably, to be honest, the hardest part in language school. Language school, again, to be honest, was hard. Talking about language school is something I've always wanted to talk about, but I feel like it's really hard for me to talk about because I acknowledge my privilege. Like, I acknowledge how privileged I am to, I don't even know how to put it, but I acknowledge how privileged I am. And there was just a lot of things in language school that are just cultural differences. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that Korea is still, how do I say this politely, unwoke. And there was a lot of just like little things that they would say, or little things that they would do that just kind of like irked me a little bit. And to be honest, I'm not one to like hold back. Like, if somebody says something disrespectful towards me and I can respectfully answer and like respectfully correct them, I will. And especially if somebody says something disrespectful towards somebody that I care about and they're not gonna stick up for themselves, I will stick up for them. So there was a lot of times where it was little things, but little things kind of added up and kind of made me angry. Again, I would say none of the negatives outweighed the positives, but it's just something to keep in mind. You kind of need to realize, again, that Korea is not woke. And I think for a lot of foreigners, it's kind of hard to come to terms with that, because a lot of the things that they say that you kind of just go like, huh? The biggest example I can give without giving too much insight into the horrors, we were doing ideal type. It was something we were learning in level 2, and we were learning about ideal type, and we all had to like come up with a picture of like somebody who was our ideal type, and like talk about like, you know, we were learning about like eyes, nose, lips, like those kinds of words, and we were also learning about like descriptions of people, so we had to explain our ideal type. And one of my friends, who happened to be female, picked a female idol as their ideal type, and my professor said, nope, you have to pick a boy. If you are a female, you have to pick a boy as your ideal type. And again, I personally don't think that way, so I think it's really hard sometimes to like understand that like there's still people that think that way. But again, a lot of things like that kind of happen. So yeah, language school is hard. You have to remember you're in Korea. I think that's the hardest part, is you have to remember you're in Korea. Somebody asked about the age range. So in language school, honestly, the age range is crazy. Like, there's kids fresh out of high school, and then I had a classmate who was like 45 and had like he had one kid, but he is from Japan, and he was like literally 45, and his wife was Korean, and he was learning Korean for his wife, and I was like, wow, that's so romantic. But yeah, like huge range. Like one of my closest friends like was in like, was she? She was in like a very long-term relationship, and she was in language school, obviously learning Korean for her significant other who was Korean, and like she got married when I was in language school, and then one of my other classmates got married in language school as well to their Korean significant other. So again, very wide range. I would say most of the kids were around my age. Like I'm how old am I? 22. So I started at like what, 20? Well, I was 20 when I started. But I would say like it's a very wide range. You can meet people from everywhere, and in university, honestly, a lot of the kids are younger than me, which was kind of shocking. Like I met somebody who was 18, 19, and I was like, but then you have to remember that sometimes in Korea, like if you guys don't know, Korean males have like the mandatory military service. Some people will opt to do military service then go to university. So I'll be honest, some of the male students were older. Like one of my classmates in my Korean class was older than me. I don't remember how old he was, but he was older than me, and I remember when he told me his age, I was like, But yeah, so in university, they're university student, like university age, but in language school, everywhere, all the ages. What careers / degrees are foreign students mostly interested in according to you? I didn't really meet a lot of foreign students who were also full-time. I didn't meet any foreign students who were full-time students like me, except for like the ones that I knew from language school who applied. I think 2 of my friends are in the business school. One of my friends is in the movie cinema. I don't know the name of the thing. I don't remember what my other friend is doing. I really don't remember. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. To be honest, I don't have friends, guys. I have no friends. I know you speak Korean pretty well, but was there a language an obstacle in university? No. To be honest, no. I think that there was definitely times where it was harder. There was definitely times where I got confused in Korean class because they used a word I didn't know. Or the thing is, like in university, they use a lot of very formal Korean, whereas I can understand formal Korean, but there's just some words that I just know the dumbed down version, where like they were saying like the government version, and I'm used to like the casual version. So there was a lot of times where I would just be like, what the hell? And then I would switch straight up and I'd be like, oh, it just means that. So yeah, but to be honest, my Korean classes didn't really have a lot of assignments where I needed to like write and read, which was pretty helpful. Like a lot of it was just speaking. I did obviously have written assignments, and I had a written final for my classes, and I obviously had to do presentations. I have to read a lot. Wow, I did have to read a lot. But yeah, was the language a big obstacle? No, because I was prepared and I did take language school. Are there a lot of other foreign students in uni? So yeah, there's a huge amount of like international like study abroad students, especially like obviously in my English classes. I met so many people from like everywhere across the world. I was like, wow, everywhere. But in my Korean classes, in terms of foreigners, I was the only Western foreigner in all of my Korean classes, and I'm assuming that will be a running theme going forward. There was a lot of Chinese students, Japanese students, Vietnamese students, but again, I was the only Western one. In language school though, everywhere across the world. Oh my god, everywhere. Like I was in school with Europeans, Americans, everywhere. It was really cool, everywhere. How is uni life so far, work and socially wise? Work wise, again, I don't think the university workload is that bad. It's just like when it's bad, it's bad. You know what I mean? Like to be honest, if you guys have gone to university and if you guys kind of know uni, like there's not a lot of homework in uni in my opinion, but there's like a lot of assignments, and when they all assign them at the same time, that's when my brain like explodes. But in terms of it, like the workload, it wasn't horrible. Like it was very manageable. I did have some mental breakdowns, but I'm used to having them. But I also procrastinate everything. So again, this is just my personality type. But I did take 6 classes, like I said, and it was hard, but I mean, I did it. And socially, I made no friends. I made a few study abroad student friends, but they're all going home. So I made no progress socially. Were your uni classes taught in English or Korean? Like I said, 2 were in Korean, 4 were in English. Is the cafeteria nicer than the American ones you've been to? I went to the cafeteria only when I was in language school. I don't go to the cafeteria now because I didn't go to the cafeteria now because it was up a hill. I don't walk up hills. No. There's too many hills in Korea. Is it nicer? It's smaller. But also, I don't know if this uni was as big as my uni in America. I'm thinking about my LA school. My LA school had like a Starbucks on campus. We had a, Pizza Hut on campus. We had a Jamba Juice on, yeah. No, I like my LA campus was better for lunch in my opinion. Somebody asked, what year are you in? Again, year 3. I'm a junior, year 3. What career? Business administration. What would you recommend preparing yourself for language school? I would say go to language school at least knowing Hangul. I think if you can read and write in Korean, which Hangul is the Korean alphabet, I would highly suggest, like, it would just be a lot more helpful. I also think if you know basic, like, 안녕하세요, 감사합니다. 이거 하나 주세요. It won't only just help you in language school, but it'll also help you just in life in Korea if you're gonna come to school here. I would learn very basic, like 화장실 어디예요? Like simple thing. But I don't think you need to prepare that much because you'll learn it all in language school, to be honest. You'll go through the pain. Are the teachers still being mean? I would say honestly, like, the treatment got better over time from especially that one professor, but yeah, I had a lot of really just like bad experiences with professors in Korea, to be honest. Is it difficult to make friends in uni? I think it's difficult for me because I just don't talk to people. Like, if I'm not forced to talk to people in class, like I go to class, I do my thing, and then I book it out of there. I'm not a very social person in general. I think everyone thinks I'm a very social person. I am not a social person. I would say language school is really easy to make friends in my opinion because you're with the same people for 3 months and you kind of get closer that way. But in like uni, like everyone's kind of doing their own thing and nobody really gives a shit. So yeah, I'd say it's pretty difficult to make friends. What was the placement test like for language school? If I remember correctly, it was about like 20-ish questions, and it was like the level 1 test was first. So if you got a certain amount of points, you would take the level 2 test. If you got a certain amount of points, you would take the level 3 test, and like so on and so on. So when I took the test, I was 1 point away from getting level 2. So I obviously was put into level 1, but it was all in Korean. The entire thing was in Korean. There was nothing in English on the entire, like the entirety of the test was in Korean. It hurt my head. That's all I would say. It made my brain hurt. Did you need to go to language school first? Oh, do you need to go to language school first in order to get into a Korean uni? You do not need to go to language school, but you'll need TOPIK, which is the Korean proficiency. You do need a certain amount of Korean proficiency to go to school in Korea, unless it is like a strictly international school that like takes all English. But my school, you need a certain amount of Korean proficiency. So again, my Korean proficiency was proven through my language school, but I didn't have to take TOPIK or TOEFL. Is it TOEFL? The English test. You have to take the English test if you're not an native English speaker. I'm a native English speaker, so I didn't need that. Because I think, honestly, like, for everybody in the school, there's a requirement of a certain amount of English hours you need. Like, I was talking to one of my Chinese friends who does not speak a word of English, and he was saying how he has to take English classes now because he started as a freshman and he has to take English classes. It's very funny. Which experience have you liked more between the two? It's really hard because I liked the community of language school. I think, again, language school felt more like a family. It felt more like, you know, like, especially because like a lot of the times like you kind of grow with the people and you kind of like experiences the levels with the same people. Obviously people come and go, that's normal. But, like, specifically for me, like, I met one of my closest friends in level 1, I met another really close friend in level 2, and then like so on and so forth. Like, I just kept making like really good friends like as the levels went on. So again, it felt really like, especially when we graduated, like we all graduated together, it was just really like special to me. I don't know, it felt very like a family, if that makes sense. Whereas uni is just like everybody's kind of fending for themselves and nobody really gives a shit what other people do. So which one did I like more? It's hard because, again, I've only had 1 semester of uni so far, and again, my semester has not been the best experience because of mistreatment, I guess, to say the least. But I don't know, language school also sucked as well. Like, there was things I didn't like about language school as well, so it's really hard. Like, nothing's perfect. Nothing was perfect. But if I had to say right now, honestly, language school. I think the structure of language school was really good for me. I like having a lot of free time because I'm a uni student, so like obviously I have classes like random times, and like there's like no classes on Tuesdays, like that kind of stuff I really like. I mean, I have 1 class on Tuesday, but it's like a free day. Fridays felt free. I had only like 1 class on Friday. So in terms of like free time, I really like uni because I had a lot more free time. But I don't know. That's a really good question, but I don't know. Okay, and the final question that somebody asked is it worth it? Oh, this is gonna be so hard because for me, it is. I think, again, I did kind of really briefly touch upon like the bad parts of my experience of university and of language school. To be honest, there was really no bad parts about studying abroad. I really did not have any bad experience. I don't think I had any bad experiences studying abroad. Like, really? I'm trying to think back. Like, damn, no, I had really no bad experiences studying abroad. But as a language student, obviously as a full-time uni student, there's been some bad things, obviously, and there's been a lot of, not only just like pressure on me, but also just like a lot of, I don't know, a lot of feelings, I guess, surrounding it. But for me, it's all kind of worth it because I really do love living here and I love being able to experience life here. And obviously I love everything that I've gotten here. I do not take for granted, and I really do appreciate like not only everything that you guys have given me, but just like all of the opportunities I've been giving just by living here and being here. Like, I could not say that I'm more thankful. Like, there's no words for me to say how thankful I am, basically. And I know how privileged, again, I am to be here and to be able to, you know, afford to be here and to be able to study here and to be able to be in this position position where like I'm first of all just like talking to y'all, and again getting to live here and experience everything here. I am so freaking privileged and I understand that, but I don't want to sit here and tell y'all that it's all perfect, because I feel like that would, first of all, that would just be lying, and second of all, I want everyone to know, like, if you do want to come here, like, there are bad things too, and I don't want to ever like tell y'all that it's gonna be perfect, because it's not. Like, my life's not perfect. Again, we have mental breakdown after mental breakdown. Oh my god, during language school I had so many mental breakdowns, especially, oh my god, during level 6 was honestly, again, level 6 put me through the ringer. Level 6 was so hard. If you guys don't know, level 6, the whole point of level 6, at least in my school, is you have to write a 10-page paper, was it? It's like a 10-page, like 10 to 15 page paper in Korean, and like you have to like the whole level, basically you're writing this whole, what is that called? Essay? Paper? 보고서. How do you say 보고서? How do you say 보고서 in English? What is the definition of 보고서? 잠시만요, 여러분. Reports. So you have to write a 10-page paper report on like this thing, and you have to obviously like find like academic articles and shit. It's just so much pain. And again, I think partly level 6 was because of the teachers, to be completely honest. And again, I've had good teachers and bad teachers in language school. So again, language school was freaking hard, and uni was hard. My first semester of uni was not easy either, but again, for me personally, the good outweighs the bad, and yeah, it's not been, my experience has been pretty good overall, but again, it hasn't been that great either, and I want to be completely honest with y'all that it hasn't been great, because again, I can't sit here and say that it's been perfect all the time, because I would be flat out lying, and I have cried more tears this year than I have in a while. So yeah, but that's kind of the end of the video. Again, if you guys have any more questions on my experiences in university or as a student in Korea, please let me know. Also, if you guys want to see more content of like being a uni student in Korea, please let me know. I am on break right now. If you guys don't know, we don't go back until March 1st. It is currently December 15th, so I have basically 2.5 months, it's 2.5 months off school, so I don't know what I'm gonna be doing. Don't ask me what I'm doing, because I'm just gonna be vibing. But yeah, I think that overall what I want to tell you guys is that, like, first of all, I think studying abroad is a really, really great experience, and it's something that I truthfully recommend to anybody in high school who is watching this, or anybody who is in college maybe considering it. I think studying abroad anywhere is a really, really great experience, because it's something that, one, I don't think you will regret, and two, it's like you get to experience another culture, you get to experience another country, and it's something that I recommend it to everyone. Like, honestly, studying abroad was like the best decision I could have made. And then obviously moving to Korea 2 years later, I cannot recommend that to everyone, but you need to kind of understand like where you're going, and understand like the society of where you're going, and those kind of expectations kind of help you push through it. And I'm not trying to say that it's gonna be easy all the time. There's gonna be times too, especially like if you do choose to come to Korea, like there's gonna be times where you have to listen to people and kind of question your, like, not question your morals, but you have to kind of like not go against your morals. Oh my god, I fought so many people in language. The thing is, you guys, I, again, do not hold back when somebody especially in language school, I felt so much more comfortable to like speak up for myself. One, because it was great Korean practice, and two, because again, they're teaching foreigners. They are teaching foreigners. Like, there's just something that they said that I just could not stand, especially like towards me. Like, if they were trying to like say something towards me, I would just, it would just really irk me. I also fought with the office a lot, because the office, I think, was really dumb in terms of like the fact that they didn't help us at all. Oh, I fought with the office so many times. But I have that like flair to me, so yeah. But in terms of university, I kind of just sat there and took it home, to be honest. I didn't really complain about in university. I didn't really complain in university. In language school, I complained a lot, but in university, I didn't really complain. But yeah, I think you have to kind of like have your expectations set for you, and especially like, I will say, I'm gonna tell y'all, if you are a Western foreigner and you are coming to Korea and you are taking classes in Korean, you're probably gonna be asked about your abilities. You're probably gonna be asked about, are you in the right place? And there's still that feeling of like, oh, you don't really belong, and there's that feeling just living in Korea in general. But yeah, again, I think all the good, all the bad outweighs the, all the good outweighs the bad, and I do really love living here. So yeah, if you have any other specific questions, please let me know. I'd love to answer them, and I hope this video was helpful to somebody who is trying to decide if they're coming to Korea or go abroad anywhere. And again, like I said, if you have any specific questions, please let me know, and I would love to answer them, because honestly, I feel like I've done everything. I've done study abroad, I've done language school, and now I'm done normal student. So I have good experience. Obviously, my experience might be like widely different from yours, and like how I experience things might be different from how you experience things, so just obviously keep that in mind as well. But yeah, I feel like I answered everything to the best of my ability, and I kind of gave you a little bit of hints of like the bad stuff. I don't really like to talk about like the bad things because again, it's hard for me to talk about because again, it's a very like cultural thing, I suppose. But I hope y'all can kind of understand that. One, I understand how freaking privileged I am. I understand how privileged I am to be here, and I love it here. But there are bad things that happen here. So yeah, I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for supporting me always. And if you have more questions, leave them in the comments down below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye everyone. Mwah.